Yeah, I gathered. Where's the warp?
Oh, I'm on a boat.
Forward
What the hell?
20.
Let's see.
Right, so where is it? I think it was like to the north of the city. No,
Also, we
it's
need to,
not.
doesn't he have a place for people to, you know, fool around in? But Muon is kind of densely packed, so that might be a bit difficult.
I think I'm at it now. I believe this was the bad chunk.
Okay, but yeah, there's not much space here. Maybe no. Maybe
We just
this
we just do it in the air, I guess.
we could. I'm just trying to look. Maybe there's like a roof or something that we could use. Maybe.
I'll just quickly make one.
We're gonna make a platform or something.
Yeah.
Okay, that.
There we are.
That works. Okay. All right, let's get the rest of this meeting started. So, as I said, this meeting we have 4 conductor applicants to look for here. No, don't box me. So, all right. So the first one we have is alpha order. Before we go to this vote, though, Jinty, since you're here, I think you said that you wanted to abstain from this vote. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I will note that down when we get to your name. So maybe I'll just put it right there, right in the minutes, right now. Anyway. All right, so we're going to prepare to vote on alpha order right now for conductor. So I'm going to randomize the list of staff members. And first off is Foot, who did not submit a absentee ballot and is not here. So I think I just mark him as did not vote there. Next is Alpha, who did not submit an absentee ballot and is also not here either. So also did not vote there. Next is Missa. Missa's voting neutral. I am voting for HVT.
Neutral.
HVT is voting neutral. Zooge. This has been absolutely unequivocally for. Okay, that sounds familiar. Next up is Frozen. Frozen's voting for. Skelly has submitted an absentee ballot and voted for. M. Polo did not submit an absentee ballot and is not present at the meeting, so did not vote. MBF submitted an absentee ballot and voted for. 7D, no absentee ballot, not here, so did not vote. AP submitted an absentee ballot and voted for. Needham submitted a very last minute absentee ballot, like just a few minutes before the meeting. So I have to go read it right now. Needham is voting for. And next is Sesh, who also submitted an absentee ballot. He voted for. DNA.
For.
DNA voting for. And finally, Vicky.
For.
Vicky's voting for.
I didn't get one for Alpha. Alpha's not here, right?
Yeah, Alpha. Alpha did not vote.
Alpha, Foot, 7D, and Empolo didn't vote.
Yeah, they're yeah.
So 4. Okay, I just want to make sure I got it because I accidentally started putting it under Amber.
So I'm counting 10 for.
Yeah. Yeah, I also counted 10.
Yep, and then only 2 neutral. No. 0 against. 0 against, Vicky.
I'm dumb, so don't worry.
Okay. So I'll just read a few little things that people have said in favor of. Oh, sorry, I'm reading the wrong one too. Sorry, AP voted neutral on Alpha, not for. Okay, so reading this again, AP voted neutral. I can't say I have much to remember Alpha by. Voting neutral in this case more because I don't have much to convince me either way. Sesh voted for, great player, have lots of playtime. All my interactions have been nice. Kelly voted for because I have no real problems with Alpha Order that I know of. MBF voted for Alpha Order is an active player and I've seen no problems with them that lead me away from voting for. And Frozen voted for Alpha has been contributing to the server and would be a nice addition to the conductor position. While they do admit that they would need more advanced training on role edits beyond the basics, I think they will pick it up and contribute to the community. Any opinions? Oh, go ahead, Vicky.
I was like, generally, I agree. Same sentiment. Alphas here a lot. Good player. Nothing really much else to comment. Nothing but good experience. Yeah, I could use some training on World Edit, but so can everyone. You have to start somewhere.
HET, Miss, any comments for your neutral votes? Anything we need to know about? Just not enough personal interactions to form a strong opinion. Zooch said, because Alpha is active, respectful, and would take a good duck. Okay. All right. So, based on this, it looks like a promotion here. So I will just ask if anyone wants to change a vote at all. If not, then we're just going to move on and promote Alpha to Conductor.
Congrats!
Okay, hearing nothing. Okay, we're going to move on. All right, next Conductor applicant is Soleurs. Going to randomize the list again. Okay, so 7D did not vote, Foot did not vote, Sesh voted for, Needon voted for, Missa? Missa says neutral leaning for, so neutral for now. Jinty.
Shinty says... Oh, wait.
4.
Oh, 4. Okay.
4, yeah.
For a second, I thought that no was for the vote. My bad.
Right. Jinty. M. Polo did not vote. I am voting for DNA.
4.
All right. HVT. HVT is voting for. Skelly. Oh, Skelly. Skelly voted for. Vicky.
I'll also be voting for.
Okay, and then Frozen voted for. AP voted for. Zooge. Zooge is voting for. Alpha did not vote. And finally, MBF, who voted for in their absentee ballot. I'll just read a few things here for Soleurs. AP said, Soleurs is a well-trusted and long-term member of the server. He knows quite well, and all interactions I've had with him have been fantastic. Sesh said, not much to say, as besides a well-known player, his playtime is indicative of his return to activity. Skelly said, a long-time member who has nicely reintegrated himself into the community. Being in a good time zone helps too. Yeah, that's true. MBF says, I'm highly confident in Soleurs' ability and willingness to execute world edits from my interactions with them. And Frozen said, hard yes. Sol has been a member of the MRT community almost as long as I am, and I understand where he comes from when it comes to being an recently returnee. I went through the same situation, but Sol has contributed so much to the server for so long, and I think they will continue to be a great contributor even as a duck. And being part of the Asian time zone cohort would help immensely.
I think Soleurs has said that in the past that they want to move back to the United States. So that is a thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, really for me, it's, I mean, having not been active, I think when Soleurs was previously on the server, I think it's made a really good impression on me. I've had a really great interactions with him. I feel like I've gotten to know him quite well, even in such a short time span. So I'm confident that he's active enough in the community and is friendly enough talking to people, and that he'd make a good conductor. So.
Missa just said they voted neutral because of the recent return to the server, but since no one else has concerns over that, I have to change my vote to 4. So yeah, we can change Missa's vote to 4 there.
All right, so the current tally is 13,004.
All right. Any other votes?
There's 17 of us right now.
Yes, that is correct. Okay, so any further vote changes? Otherwise, we're going to be promoting Soleurs to Conductor. Yeah, we don't have a table. we don't.
We kind of need one, so
Maybe the members should make a table for us. We could. It's always us making the table.
yeah.
Probably going to be
But
some
it's
terrible.
not a GSM without a table.
They're probably going to make some terrible table that doesn't actually work. Anyway, all right. So Soleurs is promoted to Conductor, and now the next candidate is CodyHM. Let's push the random button again. All right, 7D did not vote. MBF voted 4. Sesh voted 4. Missa? Missa's voting 4. Skelly voted 4. I am voting 4. HVT? HVT voted 4. And Polo did not vote. Needon has voted 4. Zooge voted 4. AP has voted 4. I'm starting to sense a pattern here. Vicky?
Neutral.
All right, voting neutral. Alpha did not vote. Frozen has voted 4. Foot did not vote. Ginty.
4.
Ginty has voted 4. And finally, DNA.
Yeah, quite a strong 4 from me.
All right. Okay, reading all this here. Cody, for AP says, like Soleurs, Cody's a well-trusted community member. All the interactions I've had have been very positive. He's been very clear. Well did it. Sesh said, good playtime, no concerns that I know of at this point. Skelly says, because I think Cody has the technical know-how and can handle responsibility interacting with others. I know in the past, which was years ago at this point, there were concerns about his character, but also I have no problem with him right now as it pertains to Conductor. MBF says, Cody works well collaboratively and is very active. And Frozen says, he has been asking for a lot of world edits recently for his projects rebuilding some highways, and his understanding of world edit helped with the process. And I think they would be a nice addition, much at the same level as Alpha Order. Okay, Vicky, you're the odd one out.
Yeah, probably mostly for personal reasons, so take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, but I just can't bring myself to trust Cody. A lot of it is long ago, granted, but I don't know. That's just a personal thing.
What were to be honest, I don't actually remember what were the concerns about Cody a long time ago. Like, it's been years since then.
It's been a while, but I just don't know. That's just my gut telling me.
All right. Like it mostly the older, like Skelly mentioned it, you mentioned it. Like I would be considered an old staff member, but I don't actually remember what the concerns about Cody were. So I don't know. Any further opinions about Cody? Or any vote changes as well? Okay, I'm hearing nothing, so it does look like it's going to be 12-4-1 neutral for Cody here, so that is a promotion. So yeah, congrats Cody for that. And then finally we have Amber. Randomizing the list again. First up is Needon, and I forgot to read Needon's opinions. I should have done that here. But Needon has voted neutral. Polo has not voted. Frozen has voted 4. AP has voted 4. Sesh has voted 4. Alpha DS has not did not vote. HVT.
Neutral.
HVT is voting neutral. 7D did not vote. Foot did not vote. DNA.
4.
DNA voting 4. Missa. Missa's voting 4. MBF has voted 4. Vicky.
Neutral leading 4.
All right, neutral there. Zooj.
Zoosh is abstain.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, that makes sense, Zooj. All right. Zooj is abstaining. I am voting neutral. And Jinty. Jinty, you're up next.
Wrong 4.
Jinty's voting 4. And finally, Skelly has voted 4. Reading some opinions in my absentee ballots. AP for Amber. AP has said Amber is certainly very prominent in the community despite being a bit newer. While I have a few lingering concerns regarding maturity, like the whole ZSC MPO fiasco, I'm satisfied enough that those issues are behind her. I can't really speak for world knowledge, but she's eager to help. Something I do see online sometimes. Sesh Penguin says good playtime has had past community issues, but not particularly relevant for the conductor rank. Appreciate the quality of application. Skelly has said, I'm a weekly 4. I feel Amber might be a bit young and I haven't seen any angry issues or any other red flags. I think it could work. MBF has said, Amber is a very social player. I'm sure that she'll go out of her way to help others as she's done before. And Frozen has said, I think she would contribute more than she has been doing with the out of world edit. I do think she's a good fit, but after this, I'm getting a bit concerned with the amount of conductors versus the amount of members, which I think I will be making a community issue for April GSM that I've been looking at this whole batch of decks. I've talked to Frozen about that, but maybe that'll be hint for next month later. Also, Needon, I'll read Needon's neutral vote as well. Needon says neutral, even though I think this will be a pretty big step. I think Amber will do really well with the world edits, and it can be good for her to serve the community like this. Amber is really involved in the community, but she can sometimes get a bit overwhelmed by people's responses, which is fair, but it's important for her and everyone else in that matter to deal with that in a respectful and professional manner.
Yeah, my issue is mainly with maturity. It feels like Amber does get caught up in drama from time to time. I don't know if that's just me or not. So it's just like, I lost my train of thought, sorry. I think Amber is a little bit on the immature side, but I don't necessarily think that it cannot work, hence the neutral vote.
Yeah, I'm along the same lines. I think it might be a better way of describing it is I think Amber reacts very emotional, to put it simply. And I'm not sure. I think for some people, I've seen the responses like they don't think it gets in the way of Conductor, which is true in a bit. So I could change my vote to 4, but that's why I voted neutral initially here.
Yeah, I think for me, I've seen quite clear demonstration that I think Amber is willing to help the community do things like the Open TTD World, for example, recent project. I think that gives me enough confidence to push me over to a 4 vote in the case of Amber.
By the way, I put in the abstains in the did not vote column, so I added the DNV for no absentee ballot and the abstains.
Yep, that's where it is supposed to go. Yeah, abstain doesn't happen that often. It's only to be very clear, the abstain votes are happening because people might have personal relationships with those people. In the case of GT and Alpha, it's literally his brother, so probably would be a conflict of interest if GT voted there.
Yeah, same.
GT has said, I want to say that I feel like Amber has grown in maturity and significantly since Soteria, I'm assuming. I have had many positive experiences with her, especially with the MRTTD stuff. She's taken a very active role in the community. That's my rationale. Okay, So I'm going to ask, right now the vote's sitting at 844 neutral. Would anyone like to change their votes, or if there's any other further opinions you'd like to share here? All right. Hearing nothing, I think Amber will be promoted. So congrats, Amber. All right. So that concludes all of the conductor applicants. All 4 of them got promoted. Oh yeah, Alpha just messaged me. Yeah, the Alpha DS just messaged me, but I think he meant, he did miss voting there. Okay, so we're going to move on to the only community issue of this meeting. However, it is I'm not sure how to describe it. It's controversial. It's big. It's wide-ranging. It's something that we don't seem to be able to agree upon. I think that's the best way I can describe it. So this is about, I think, I don't remember who it was that initially submitted it, but basically proposals to change the Senator airfield restriction. So to remind everyone, the current airfield restrictions are that Senator airfields are restricted to 7,500 blocks. However, there's been some concerns about, well, because you only have an airfield of 7,500 blocks, everyone tries to cram as many planes and gates into that small area, and the airfields that result from that tend to look very unrealistic. So this issue was brought up to try to find solutions for that, but unfortunately there are many different solutions, and that's what we're going to discuss here. One thing I will remind people is there is the option, I'm actually still in this camp, there is the option of not going ahead with any of these changes. Like, we could just stick with the status quo for now, or defer this topic to another meeting. But I just wanted to at least bring this topic here to the GSM so it at least gets some discussion. So.
Yeah, starting off, I think my biggest criticisms with both Zooge and Light Shatters is proposals going off the table in the separate document. Is that it is very, very complicated for like just an airfield. Like going into it, like I think I'm kind of agree with Skelly that I don't like any of the proposals, maybe the concrete proposals. But something needs to change. The status quo is kind of.
It's kind of one of those situations where no one is happy. Like, yes, the lack of realism is not great, but to change the rules into something better that's also easy to understand, I don't know if we're there yet, or I'm not sure if it's even possible. Like, it's that is also a possibility. Just also, if you're reading the agenda doc on the meeting, I did post, because I did get all these absentee ballots, and I did see quite a variety of opinions there. I did post all of them there, including also Needham's, who just came in the last minute. So there's a lot if you want to read through those. I think people might be reading some of the things or not. To be honest, I'm not sure where to bring this discussion, like where to direct this discussion. Like, do we want to discuss maybe Zooge or Light's proposals in specifically, or how do we want to go about? Yeah, some people are reading right now. I'll read what Pro said. The gap between center and governor is large, which kind of ruins the ability to actually build a proper airport with functioning facilities. Okay, so I get. Just keep in mind the reason why I guess there is a block limit for center airfields is that if there wasn't a limit, we would have a problem of people building too large airports, even at a senator level. And that's been a problem, not just even the New World, but Old World as well. Things like the MRT International or Ivy. So that's why the limit is there. It's just more, I guess there's questioning of whether it should be just a block limit or something, or maybe limited by some other measurement. Ivy is an example too, because I think Ivy came in because Chief just tried to build it before a lot of the airport rules were in place. It was also a governor airport, if I recall. So, I cite it as an example because it is an example of someone pushing the limits of what is of an airport size. Basically, Ivy got too big. People objected to it, and then it was basically canceled. So.
I guess something I'll bring up as well is in terms of complexity. I do think that is a concern that I have, but I suppose it does help to some extent with this rule because it's senators. Senators are the only people who can build airports and senators and above. And I think by the time someone's become a senator, they're likely already going to be familiar with the airport rules, having been on the server for multiple months. So I suppose it does help to some extent that this rule isn't going to apply to brand new members who are having to auto learn everything else on the server. So
I'm seeing some ideas in chat of maybe making so Zooge and Light's proposed they're using a point system, which based on the discussion in the Discord thread, it seemed like maybe that might be a good idea. But then there's also concerns of how that's really complicated. You have to keep track of all the points and all that sort of thing. Right now I'm seeing in chat that some people are saying an idea is maybe simply increasing instead of 7,500 blocks, maybe make it 25% of the city size. The one drawback I can see of that one is it does mean staff or members will need to measure their city a lot more often. Which means also maybe a lot more proposals, because right now if you want to govern an airport, you need to propose it in proposals. So standard airfields would be also need to be also proposed that way as well.
Then again, more proposals, there aren't that many airport proposals as it is, and there will be more, but more proposals isn't that big a deal.
That's true.
Because it takes a whole 30 seconds to look at a proposal and vote.
Well, I have seen some governor airport proposals even where a staff member decides not to take 30 seconds, but they actually go deeper and actually measure things properly, and then they find out, maybe this is not the right measurement. So I don't know. If staff feel like it's not a big deal, that's okay. I'm just stating that is a cost of if we were to go that route.
Yeah, I mean it
suppose-
would be.
Yeah.
But I think as long as it's not too unreasonable, I'm in the not a big deal camp. Make it more simple, or simpler rather than more complicated. Which I think the point system is more complicated.
I was going to say, I think two things I want to point out with the point system. I think actually, in terms of proposals, I actually do think the point system would probably be easier for staff to calculate, just because we don't have to go into the airport and use a line tool to measure it, and it is just a case of counting the gates, which is, I guess simpler to some extent. I mean, obviously you'd have to measure the actual gate sizes and whatnot. And then the second thing I want to say as well is I think if we do end up going with the point system, I would like to see some kind of like web-based UI to sort of just type in the numbers and have it tell you whether your airport is valid or not. I don't know if that would be something we could put like hosted on the actual MRT server itself, or if that could be done by the MRT mapping service or some other body. But yeah.
Another alternative is just say, hey, you could build like maybe like up to like 10 small gates, just as an example, and small just being defined as like 17 wingspan, rather than deal with points of having like people juggle like mediums and medium small. Just say 15 small gates, for example.
Yeah, the more I think about the point system, the more I'm not in favor of it now that I think about it, because it seems like there's no based on the discussion in Discord and even looking at the absentee ballots, like there seems to be disagreement of what the gate sizes should be, what even the runway or taxiway sizes should be. Like, I feel like I don't know if we want to get into that sort of level of detail. It seems kind of silly.
I mean, I do think it goes against sort of the unwritten rule we have that we try to avoid using arbitrary numbers in the rules.
Yeah, or I get it's not so much the arbitrary numbers. It's more like there's a lot. If I were in the shoes of a new senator, someone who just got senator, and they have to read all these rules and have to figure out, okay, how many gates do I need? They basically have to play a game of Tetris to try to figure out like how to do all that. And I don't know, for some people that might be fun, but for others, I can see that that's like, why am I wasting time figuring that out when all I really want to do is just build an airport, right? Like,
I suppose that so you're saying that's an issue with the current system, because I do think that's an issue we have right now as well.
it's an issue. It's an issue in the sense that the space is probably too small for what they want to do. Like here with the point system, there's all these you're basically imposing more limits, more little cuts and little things that they have to keep track of. Whereas 7500 is, yeah, you still have to figure it out, but you know that there's one general limit you have to fit in, right? So at least it's a little bit more freeform. Go ahead. Sorry.
So I was just going to say, I think something else. It's not really as much of a so it's obviously, like, generally speaking, like airports and planes are kind of standardized across the server. But I can see, I suppose, when we put a restriction on the size of gates, if someone's building in a larger scale, not scale as in the size of the actual city, but it's in like the height of buildings, for example, they might also want their planes to be 3-box tall instead of 2-box tall, for example. And by putting these rules in place, we are sort of setting a standard for the scale of buildings within cities, I suppose, to some extent. It's a minor issue, but we want to allow as much creative freedom as possible. So
yeah, going off what Katie and Elite have said, like, there are standards, but some people slightly deviate from them, is what I'm hearing there. So
yeah, I suppose it's like most warp rail trains are 3 wide because people like the big 3, quote unquote, adopted it, and it just became standard for compatibility. But like, it's pretty arbitrary. Like, they could have just as easily done like 5 wide trains, for example.
HPT said, I'm not going to lie, if I was required to make a proposal for an airfield, I would probably just not make the airfield. would you HVT if we went with the 25% rule, would you still not make a proposal for that? I'm trying to ask you how specific. Even for that, even for a 25% rule. That's interesting. Measuring size of the pane. Yeah, no, I get that. That is a thing.
Maybe just like a simple increase, like say 15,000, might be justified.
I think that has been proposed a long time ago. I believe, like many years ago. I think 10,000 blocks was proposed at one point at a GSM, if I recall correctly. But we said no. I think one of the arguments that I heard from back then was if we just increase it, then it's just going to, it's people are just still going to stuff gates and stuff like that. So
That is true.
though, to be fair, if it's just an increase from 7,500 to 10,000, I think that argument would be true. But if it just went up to 25%, maybe I think it depends on how much the increase is. If the increase is significant enough, then maybe you won't see so much cramming because now, in a sense, airfields would have space to breathe, to actually make space for things.
Yeah, and there's the other argument where, like, say if you make it based off of a certain percentage of the city size rather than just an arbitrary number, then an alternative to gate cramming is more development. Like you have like things like IKEA, especially in the old days, that helped bump development that like helps bump up your area. If that makes sense.
Yeah, Simon just brought up a point about helis, and he says helis don't seem, the point system doesn't really capture the heliport things, so that is a point there.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Suj.
I see.
I thought I'd talk about this topic a little bit because I was one of the people who put in a proposal for what I thought might work. I know this topic was definitely like super controversial, so wait, let me bring it up real quick. I actually switched to defining gate sizes by wingspan because defining them by like a very set size, like arbitrary numbers, as DNA said, would be kind of confusing. I realized that later on. So like small would be 17 blocks wide. I think I put it in the channel. I can forward it to the front, but I instead thought that wingspan would define like how big a plane can be, since gates really vary between airfields and airports. If that makes any sense.
Sorry, Zuj, could you repeat that? I'm sorry, I'm reading Simon Ginty's answers here again as well.
Oh yeah, no problem. I was just saying that you could define the gates in the point system by wingspan. So small gates would be 17 blocks wide, medium small gates would be 31 blocks wide, and medium gates would be 41 blocks wide. And also the Senator, like the 7,500 block limit would still be in place, but this new system would be like, if builders want to add more, like want to add like a bigger terminal, taxiways, or one runway, then they still could, but like they would have that option as long as they submit a proposal, and the 7,500 block limit would still be available for all the senators.
Okay. Katie does bring up a point. I don't like the idea of managing how people build their airports. A simple increase would give people more space to feel like they don't have to create crime without forcing people not to do so. And to respond to Simon's point, like we discussed the idea of if we went to 25% and then having those those require a proposal. You know, based on the staff here, I'm not sure about the other staff who are not here, but it sounds like maybe that is a cost that is okay that a cost that we can go with because, but they, yeah, like airports aren't the most common proposal that we see, so it's not going to be something that increases our workload too much. It's basically
That's true.
it's basically what I'm seeing. That's the vibe I'm getting right now. I'm not sure if it's actually correct. I guess we'll find out if we decide to go with that. But yeah, I guess one thing I will mention is whatever like if we would decide to make a change, keep in mind that if we do make a change, we're kind of stuck with it because it's been 75 blocks for so long. Once we make a change, now we're starting to get old airfields with 75 blocks and then new airfields with whatever new system we have, whether it's 25% or a point system or whatever. So once we go with it, we better make sure that we can all agree to it. It's not going to cause too much problems because if we do find an issue, now we have to deal with old airfields and then these newer airfields and then figure out a new system from there. So basically what I'm saying is we want to try to get this right if we are to make a change.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a big change. I would say this is more of like an add-on than a change, though.
It's what I'm trying to say is if we're going to add another basically whatever change we make, we're going to make a second tier of airfields. And if that change doesn't work out, it's going to be more difficult to change it later. So it's very important for us to try to get it as right as acceptable as possible for most people on the server. And I'm also aware that whatever if we do decide, it's not going to satisfy everyone. Like it's not everyone's going to be happy with it, right? I don't. I'm radio. I'm not really. I don't think a vote is. If it can be discerned down. Well, no. I don't think a vote is really. Go ahead, Vicky.
I was like, we normally do these sorts of things based off of consensus, and I think that just generally feels better because I think a vote is prone to just leave people angry.
I was going to say a vote only makes sense if there are concrete options that are easy for people to understand. Like, for example, should we allow guests to build? Yes or no? Like that's a very simple question. But here, it's not as clear cut, especially with the point system, because there's two different point systems at least that have been proposed. And also there's non-agreement on which parts of those point systems to use. Right? It's all very fuzzy, very gray area. So it's hard to get some people to vote on that sort of gray area. Kate, I guess my point is like it's going to be there might be some difficulty later on if we need to if we're looking at an airfield and we don't know when it was built, whether it applies to the 7500 block rule or not. Like it's all I'm saying. It feels like it's going to get complicated whatever we decide here. So. Okay, so I'm not sure how we want to proceed here.
Me neither, honestly. Yeah, I agree, P-Tony.
Yeah, I don't know either. I could rewrite a proposal, like at the front, maybe, but that would take a while. And yeah,
PTLD, I understand your point. I'm not really appreciating your tone there. Yes, yes. I think there's a better way to saying like a complicated system is probably not the answer here, but I do appreciate that people have tried to think of solutions for this, like tried to figure out some way of going around this. It's at the very least the point system is different from other previous proposals where it's just like, oh, let's just increase the block limit or something, but.
I think, as I mentioned before, again, I am less concerned about complexity, just because, like, at least with the point system, I do think we could make a small web-based calculator, and again, it only applies to people who've been a member of the server for quite some time. But I mean, there's definitely a line you cross where it does become too complex. But I think I'm less concerned about that personally for the point system.
I don't share that DNA because I don't not sure if I agree, because one, for someone, if someone could write in a web app, but also that web app will also need to be maintained in case we do change the rules later on. But also, even then, even with that web app, like for someone, a person who has to make a new senator airfield, they have to have these rules in their head at least. So, and I just feel like that's still too much. It's too much things to worry about for them, I would say. Like it's, I would like to make the rules less complicated, not more. Like,
Yeah, I take your point. I do just think, though, the thing is, because regardless of which solution we go to, someone's not going to be happy with it, and I'm just sort of thinking which solution is going to make the most people happy.
so let's start with this. Putting aside the point system, how are people feeling about the 25% rule? Like, would that satisfy from everyone who has different perspectives? Like, would that be a satisfying solution?
Do we have an idea of how small this 25% airport would be? Do we have any examples anywhere?
That's a good point. I guess we need
I'd like to actually sort of see the comparison between 50% and 25% and 7,500 blocks.
I think generally 25% will be bigger.
It would help if we had some examples, though, like actual concrete, like actual centers of cities. We could just measure a few of them, and then get a number out. If we can get some numbers out, then that should give people an idea of what kind of size we're looking at here, instead of speculating. Well, I don't know if we could do it now, or we could defer this topic to next GSM and then spend, some staff or some members maybe even could measure that on their own, and then when we reconvene, we can then use those numbers to say this seems reasonable or not. Yeah, the one drawback of the 25% is some cities that are very densely packed, like some center cities, but aren't actually well spread out, will actually end up having less space. So there is a risk that, and I guess you could argue this happened with governor airports too a little bit, is that there's a risk that people will start to be encouraged to spread their cities a lot more so that they can get more airfield space.
Yeah, maybe just whichever's bigger.
I would also like to see, if possible, an example of the point system airports as well. Just Maybe just like a drawing on Dynmap or something. I don't really know how easy that would be to produce, but
So people are saying 7,500 or 25%, whichever is bigger. Let's keep a tab on that one. I want to see those examples first, because it might be the case that when we do actually look at those examples, most of the airfields sizes are actually bigger than 7,500 anyway. So maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe we don't have to say that. Okay, so that seems like, unless there's any, it sounds like the plan of action right now, unless anyone has any other ideas. Like for Light and Zooge, I'm sorry, like the point system doesn't seem like what we're gonna go for here. Like there's at least some pushback against it, if that makes sense.
That's fair. I think the 25% system is also a good idea. My thought process behind the point system was that if people really wanted to gate cram, they would still use the 7,500 block limit, because you can technically put more gates in 7,500 blocks than 16 small gates with 16 points, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the point system would be for people who wanted a more larger, realistic airport. But I think 25% is just an easier, more simple way to go about it.
I'm just reading some numbers here. Alpha DS says 25% of Lapis Bay is 50,000 blocks? That seems a bit much. I don't know. Is that sound okay, like reasonable to people? Like if that's, I don't know if Alpha's here, but like, or Alpha is here. Is that like on the far maximum end of a center city, or is that, or maybe average?
Yeah, to be fair, 7,500 is pretty small. Like, people gate cram for a reason.
Picture. I see. Okay, yeah, I think it's starting to sound like 25% is a number, but I don't think it's necessarily what we need to agree on. It sounds like maybe we can adjust that. We can adjust that when we get more examples, I'd say, you know. Okay, how about this for an action plan? What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to make a thread in community issues. It'll strictly be for, we'll leave the Discord topic for this topic like alone. We'll just leave that alone. But I'll make a new topic just for people to post center cities and their measurements, and then from there we can figure out what percentage. So basically, any members can post in there with their measurements, and maybe staff can also do that as well. But like, just to get basically a big sample, at least a sample size of sizes, and then we can figure out what percentage would work. It could be 10, it could be 15, it could be 20, it could be 25. We don't know. It sounds like maybe it's something in the middle, perhaps. What do you mean you have 75K cached?
Oh, so the website I had, like last time I just measured something else and then it persisted. So,
Oh,
yeah.
Is that a bug in the calculator or something, or?
I just removed like my calculation and it showed around 75K. So whatever it was in the picture, it's around 75K smaller.
Okay. Okay, does that sound like a plan then? Any other further thoughts? Like, if there were any other ideas that people have, we could also consider them. Like the point system, the percentage, those aren't necessary. Don't those don't necessarily need to be the only ideas. But at the same time, also keep in mind, 7,500 blocks has been always a problem since the beginning, and a lot of people have proposed ideas on how to solve it, and none of them have really worked. So maybe it is quite a difficult problem.
Okay, so here's what I got in the minutes so far. I put deferred until April. Most popular idea at the moment is to set a limit of a certain percentage, roughly 10 to 25% of the town, but there is disagreement as to the exact number. To resolve this, there will be a new community issues thread created for people to make measurements and to determine a better number.
Okay, that sounds good. Is that 100K blocks for the city size, not the airfield size, right, Alpha? Okay. So 10% of 100K would be 10K, which I think you would argue maybe might not be enough. I don't know. We'll see. I guess part of it is also agreeing on what size roughly is good for people. So. Katie, I think we need to figure out what the percentage is. The floor, I guess, could be 7,500, but it sounds like it might be most center cities will be way above that floor anyway. Yeah. Anyway, well, I'll make a thread for this. If you can find an example of a really small area center city, please do put it in that thread, and then we can measure it and then see how it fits with whatever with this idea that we're having right now. Yeah, Simon did mention Portland.
Yeah, Portland is an outlier, but that would probably be one of the few examples where a hypothetical minimum would kick in.
Yeah, actually, another exception I just thought of was what's Lala Boy's city? I can't remember what the name of it. Kessler. Technically, it doesn't have a airfield. It technically has dragons, so I don't know how that fits into the whole thing.
And it'll be grandfathered in anyway, and Lala Boy is not very active.
I mean, we have an exemption for that specific, the dragons, don't we?
I think we did we actually, I think there was a GSM topic for that. Yeah. So Kessler is Premier, yes.
But I think we're about done for now. I don't see anyone really contradicting us right now. So I think what's written down in the minutes is... I mean, but besides like the trustee meeting and Q&A, but...
Oh no.
Yeah, we are done this topic. I'm actually glad that, well, we'll defer it till later, but it sounds like we at least got something done. But now it's time for pain. And Lee, get up here.
Okay, time to leave.
Bye, Hut.
I always never figure out how do you get someone to... They have their hand raised, but how do you get them to...
Let's see. I'm right-click invite to speak. There you go.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, Elite.
The MRT Trustee Association Trustee Meeting for the 3rd of March, 2025. Elite Neon's bedroom, Shadow Point, the Honorable Elite Neon, Speaker of the MRT Trustee Association. Nominations: number 1, Val Screams Duck for Trustee, passed 4-0. Number 2, A Rock, for trustee, passed 3-0. Is the 8th? Oh. Yeah, I misread it on my phone. For the 8th of March, well, okay, where we are retroactively holding this on the 3rd of March. A pack of crawfish instant noodles that Network Southeast is cooking right now for trustee passed 5-0. The Pizza Rat for trustee passed 2-1. Gatorade trademark for trustee passed 5-0. Chamada's Twitch stream for trustee passed 3-0. John of God, who shares a birthday with Val Screams, but who Val Screams does not actually know who he is, for trustee, passed 2-1. General business. Motion to We Motion Plus trademark, passed 2-0. Motion to do a Stonehenge from Ace Combat trademark, passed 4-0. Motion to recreate Ace Attorney trademark, passed 3-2. Motion to instruct the MRT government to not recognize the Paris Climate Accords, passed 0-3. Motion to declare that the MRT Trustee Association is the one true MRT government, passed 3-1. The trustee from Utopia noted that this declaration incites rebellion. Number 13. Motion to incite rebellion, passed 2-0 to 1 with 1 abstention. Number 14. Motion to grab the Heckler and Koch MP5 submachine guns in order to facilitate said rebellion in Minecraft, passed 3-1. Number 15. Motion to declare that the revolution will be televised, passed 4-0. Despite Russian moderator interference, I won this election by a lot. Number 16.
So it sounds like a normal trustee meeting.
Motion to require that future train manufacturing be built by Purple Train Manufacturing or Val Scream's Cat, passed 0-4. Motion to turn Central City into a giant spoon, passed 2-1 with 1 abstention. Motion to provide for a non-voting staff delegate to the trustee meeting, failed 3-0 to 1 with 1 abstention for you will take your colonialism and like it. The trustee from Utopia declared this to be tyranny. The speaker responds, so what? Number 19. Motion to turn pineapple pizza into legalized nuclear bombs, passed 2-1. Number 20. Motion to declare Arya old, failed 2-4. Arya is henceforth regarded as eternally youthful. Number 21. Motion to kick y'all the fuck out of my bedroom, passed 1-0. I, the Honorable Elite Neon, Speaker of the MRT Trustee Association, Keeper of its Great Seal, and Grand Marshal of the Holy and Sovereign Order of the Big Board, do hereby declare this document to be the manifestly undemocratic will of the MRT Trustee Association and its Speaker. May Eris the Eagle bless this noble, humble, and hallowed institution, and may he continue to shed his most omnipotent and untarnished many such cases on the people of the MRT server. I haven't had this many people in my bedroom since I redacted.
Sometimes I feel like our GSMs are boring and uninteresting, but then the trustee meeting happens, and thankfully that reminds me. They can get a lot worse. Okay, anyway, I guess this is the part for the Q&A. If they have any questions, concerns in general about anything, now's the time to talk about it. I guess there are a few little mini topics we could also bring up, like.
By the way, mini PSA: Americans changed their clocks tonight.
Yes. So daylight savings time starts now. Then UK starts later in the month, so it's gonna be. There's always this weird period where the daylight saving the 1 hour ahead is not quite aligned properly.
Point of order, motion to declare daylight savings time as haram, passed unanimously.
Okay, elite. So that does mean the starting from the April GSM, please note of that times change, so that remember that the GSM is at UTC time always, so it may be 1 hour later for a lot of people in the US and Canada.
Actually, by that point, I think everyone will have switched over.
Well, we'll see. Sometimes people forget. So I see some people. So one of the little topics I want to talk about is April Fools. I'm gonna be honest. I'm starting to feel like the staff will be discussing some things, but I'm gonna just set the expectation right now that I don't think there will be an April Fools this year as well. I know there wasn't one last year, but it just comes down to people being available and people taking the time to make something happen.
Also, just
So,
having a good idea in the first place.
yeah, there is an idea that has been floating around, but I'm just not sure about the execution. So, or people being available to do that execution. So, yeah. Beta, who's asking about beta? What? Beta server, I'm assuming. Turn Central City into a gigantic Walmart. Okay. Also, DNA, did you want to talk about the ticket plugin at all? Like where that's at?
Yeah, so basically I'm just redoing the command system, replacing it with Brigadier at the moment. I've had to sort of learn it all. I've finally gotten a couple commands working, but it's fully migrated onto paper now as well, so it's a paper-only plugin. But yeah, I think I'm looking at probably around 1 or 2 weeks tops to get that done, hopefully. It's once I've got a couple things done, I can just sort of copy the codes between all the different commands, and then it should be okay to test again. So, but yeah, obviously the stuff on beta is still, it pretty much functions exactly the same as how it will function after I've finished migrating all the code over. So it's mainly just sort of back-end code changes, to be honest.
So, would you want people to start testing again after? Because also I know that it sounds like, I think I talked to Frozen and Fred about this. It sounds like those two are the only ones that are really actively testing your plugin, and a lot of other people who have systems like Time and Yuri are kind of waiting on Frozen and Fred to do the testing. So I'm trying. I basically. I'm not sure if this is the best way of approaching testing. I feel like I want to encourage everyone to just go in, just jump in and test it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I think after I've migrated the command system, there'll be a lot to test just in terms of security vulnerabilities, that kind of thing. Whether you can, edit someone else's GUI when you shouldn't be able to, that sort of stuff. It'd be great if people could test that once that's all finished being migrated.
Okay, cool. So maybe like it'll probably get to main by April, I'm guessing, right? Like that sounds like a good timeline.
It depends how long it takes to test. I mean, it's March now, so I mean, I'd say hopefully we'll get there.
It could be end of April too.
During April, yeah. So hope for the best.
Okay, so at least I'm just putting out that just to give people in a timeline of when that plugin will be there. In other news, there have been a lot of bugs that have been found after we updated to 121.4. Some of them have been fixed, and some of them unfortunately cannot be fixed. If you want a full rundown, you can look in the beta announcements. There's like a list of current issues. Next week, I will do a little mini. I'll probably put an announcement for this. A little mini update just to fix some of the things like belltop and book. Those two commands. Also, a partial fix for PvP arenas. If you have been playing PvP arenas, the leather armor's not colored anymore. The heads have been working. Those two things I've been able to fix on beta. However, I think there's still some issues with effects. That one I think is fortunately not fixable. So, but still, I will try to get that fix in for next week. So probably there'll be like a small downtime next week, maybe Tuesday, I think. Probably just like a half an hour or so, and I'll just apply those fixes onto main server, and that should be there. And then the last thing is curve building, that plugin. There's still one really big bug with that plugin where it's sometimes, for those that have tried it on beta, it will, if you try using it and clearing all your points, the whole plugin will sometimes crash, such that you can't actually see the visualization anymore. For all players, can't see the visualization, and the way to fix it, the way to fix it is to basically reload the plugin, but that requires some. I guess I have to make maybe a moderator to do that. So it's kind of annoying. I'm hoping the developer will actually respond and fix it, but if nothing happens until April, I might just go ahead and just bring it to main, with the caveat that moderators will have to reload the plugin sometimes. Yeah, so. Okay, so any other questions, comments here? I think that's about it here, at least in terms of our little mini announcements here.
I think that's it.
Okay. All right, so if we did that, how would we ping mods if they're not online? That is the issue. Like I don't think I would be comfortable giving conductors the permission to reload the plugin, because that could be, that might be a bit much. I also don't know. I don't know what the implications are for reloading the plugin that often. So yeah, I would like normally reloading plugin permissions are admin only. So in this situation, because there's that bug, I would make an exception and make it mods only, mods and above, just for that bug.
Oh, and also please remove the trains before the end of the GSM so I can roll it back properly.
Okay. All right. Seeing no other questions, concerns here, I think we're going to bring this meeting to a close. Thanks everyone for attending. Reminder: next GSM is in April. What day is it? I don't remember. April 12th is the next GSM. So yeah, everyone have a good day and goodbye.
Bye. I just got licked by Sienna.
Thank you for watching the General Staff Meeting on MBS. I'm Katie11231, live in Miawan. Thanks for watching.